Wake up.
Hey, come on, beautiful, wake up.
For Mary, the day started like any other day. She got Mike's breakfast, did the dishes, and then remembered she had an appointment with the doctor.
Well, good news. You're going to have a baby.
You're sure?
I'm sure.
As you can see, it folds down very easily on top of the buggy.
That's it. The little giant. Oh, what a deluxey buggy for my baby. I'm going to have a... Well, I just wanted to look at one of them.
Well, that's perfectly all right. This is our finest buggy. It has all...
Oh, they can't do that. It's the same one my sister has. You put the price up too high.
When did your sister buy hers?
2 years ago.
Price has gone up 3 times since then.
But it's the same buggy, just the same.
Right over here we have one that's quite a bit cheaper.
But I don't want another one. I want this one. Why does it have to cost so much?
Well, we have to pay more for it ourselves, and for that...
Oh, I think that's mean. Well, I just won't pay that much for it. Oh, and it's such a beautiful buggy. You tell them they're just going to have to sell it cheaper. You tell them that.
Sure. Sure, I'll tell them.
Well, I just found out about it today, Sid. Oh, I'm so excited. Well, I just can't wait to talk to you about it. Isn't it wonderful? Say, why don't you and Fred come on over tonight, huh? Well, I've got some of the cutest little patterns. You know, for knitting, I just...
Wow, look who's here. Come on in. Make yourself at home. Give me your
Oh, I'm so happy. How are you?
Hey, what is this? Maybe you better open this. Huh? What's that? Oh, my golly, for me? Gee, this is swell. This isn't my birthday, though. Hey, now, what do I want with this?
Hey, don't hold it like that. It's for our baby. Why, Mike, don't you want a baby? Mike, you always said you did.
Why, sure. What do you know? Oh, honey, it's wonderful. Look, don't you want to sit down and be comfortable?
Now,
Just
don't
relax.
you be silly. You two go on and sit down, and Gene and I will make some coffee. Huh? Now, go on. I didn't know for sure till the doctor said today, but I bet you'll never guess what I did.
Oh, I bet I can.
What?
I remember what you and I did when we found out about Fred Jr. We went right out and bought a baby buggy. Did you buy one today?
No, but I looked at one.
Oh?
And have I something to say to Fred? You and your bunch of little giant chiselers.
Well, me? Hey, wait a minute. I only work there.
The price you charge for that buggy, it's robbery. I won't pay it.
Yeah, I know, honey. There's a lot of talk about that, but what can I do about it?
You're in the accounting department. Why don't you make them put the price back where it ought to be?
You know, we may have to get out of the buggy business. Gross sales are way off, and operating costs are way up. Well, our direct costs are...
Double talk. Why don't you talk so I can understand it?
Don't let her get you down, Fred. Mary, nobody can talk plain English about things like that, or some ordinary mutt like me might understand what it's all about. Yeah, it used to be true, Mike, but there's a way of putting it so everybody can understand it.
What, me?
Sure.
Well, and give.
You really want to know?
Oh, now, don't get Fred started.
Oh, but I want to know. Everybody thinks I'm so dumb.
Mary, no, they don't.
Well, about things like this, I don't know from nothing. I want to know why my baby buggy should cost so much. So give.
All right. When you want something, like the buggy, you think of going right down to the store and buying it with money.
So far, so good.
Well, in the old days, when you wanted anything, you had to make it. You had to supply the tools. You had to figure out how to make it. You had to do the work of making it yourself. You were your own customer, right?
Right.
Well, now, suppose Mike were smart enough to do all of that himself. Then how much do you think it would cost to make anything?
Well, I suppose whatever his time was worth.
Well, let's think about that for a minute. Suppose Mike is a pioneer. He's out in the wilderness someplace, and he wants to clear a little piece of land. You know, to build a house for his family to live in.
What's he got to work with? He's got himself, his own brains and muscle, his human energy. And then he's got whatever he can find in nature, natural resources. Now you put an axe in his hand and he's in business. The better the axe, the less time and effort it'll take to cut down a tree. A saw would be better. A power saw would go still faster. You see what I mean? With all the technical accounting and legal gobbledygook, there are only 3 things involved in the cost of anything, any goods or services.
Only 3?
Yes, and the first is natural resources.
Like the tree.
That's right. You cut down a tree to make lumber. You take some clay and mix it with straw to make bricks. You mine copper and iron ore and coal. These are natural resources.
Yes, but you need more than that.
Oh, you mean Mike?
Sure, the work that Mike does, or I do, in order to make anything. The use of our brains and muscle, our human energy. And then the third thing.
The axe. Or whatever you work with in your job.
Tools. Tools are what get the job done faster and better, and with a lot less human energy. Now today, most of us work in a factory, a mine, or an office. And we've developed our tools a long way from something simple like the axe, but the idea is just the same.
And so the cost of my baby buggy takes in, what'd you say, natural resources.
That's right.
Work.
Human energy.
And tools. So?
Suppose Mike wants to go into the business of making and selling baby buggies. Now, what's the first thing he ought to think about?
Me.
No, she's right. She wants to buy a buggy.
That's right. The first thing Mike has to figure out is how many people want to buy baby buggies. Then he's got to figure out how to make them and how to sell them at a price people would be willing to pay.
Now you're talking. That's just what I was saying. They cost too much.
Well, wait a minute, hold it. We'll get there in a minute, but let's start here. He needs tools. He needs a factory. He needs raw materials, power tools, desks, lockers, adding machines, typewriters, paper clips, everything it takes to produce. Now, where are they going to come from?
Some rich guy.
Like us.
Hey, wait a minute. What are you talking about?
You, Mary, Jane, and me.
Oh, look, I haven't got that kind of money.
You got any insurance?
Yeah?
Got a bank account?
Well...
Most people, about 4 out of 5 have insurance. A lot of people have bank accounts, about 3 out of 5.
You mean I could go to a bank or some big insurance company and borrow the money?
What do you think they do with the money?
They invest it.
Certainly. Now, whose money do you think it is? It's ours, people like us.
Hey, that makes me a capitalist.
Well, what did you think a capitalist was?
Well, I always thought of a capitalist as a big fat guy in striped trousers and a stovepipe hat.
Did you ever look at yourself in a mirror?
I am not fat.
Oh, you're cute. Now, wait a minute. Look, we both saved some money and bought houses, right?
Right.
Now, like your dad. He owns his own house and rents the upstairs, doesn't he?
Oh, does that make him a capitalist?
Just what is a capitalist?
Well, anyone who saves some money and puts it to work so it'll earn something. Like your dad. Now, how does he decide how much rent to charge?
Well, he can't charge what he pleases.
And he can't charge too much or nobody'd rent from him. And then he has to pay taxes and set aside a little for things like papering, painting, repairs. There's always something.
More than that. He hopes to have enough left over to give him a little income. In other words, he charges a competitive price and tries to earn something on his investment.
Well, why not? Dad's retired and he needs the money.
Funny, I never thought of it that way.
Well, it's a free country. I'm only making the point that we're capitalists.
I see, but getting back to the baby buggy business, I still need a factory.
All right. You're the guy who's trying to start a factory. You are management.
Okay, so I'm management. What am I supposed to do first?
First, you'd see an investment banker. If he liked the deal, he'd arrange to issue stock. Then he'd sell this stock to people he knows, who are looking for a good place to put some savings. They're the stockholders. They furnish the money for the tools.
Sounds pretty complicated.
Sure does.
No, it isn't really. You need money. An investment banker knows people with money to invest. He simply arranges to get you and the stockholders together.
Okay. But how do we get together?
Well, maybe I can show you. Now, you just imagine yourself somewhere in an office. You are there as management. And you are also there as the stockholder.
How are you, Mike? I understand you want to get together. How are you, Mike? Yeah, let me tell you about this. That's what I'm here for. I'm looking for a good investment. I've got one for you. There's a good market for baby buggies. Mary wants one, and a lot of people like her want them. Maybe they do. So what? I've got a plan to make them better and cheaper. It'd be good business. That's what you say. As a guy with money to invest, the only thing I'm interested in is what will the investors get out of it. I got to think about that. Well, I got to have a factory. Look, it makes sense. People have babies every year, every week. Some weeks as many as 40,000 babies are born. They'll all want buggies. It'll be a good, steady business. It'll be a good investment. Sounds pretty good. Let me think it over. There's always a risk in a thing like this. Okay, that's fair enough. I want to build that factory.
Well, Mike is finding out that he isn't an easy guy to do business with when he's on the other side of the fence. But let's suppose that everything goes all right. Now, he's finding out that a necessary part of the cost of any business is the cost of getting the tools. Now, ask yourself this question. Where do tools come from? They always come from an investment, the risking of savings. Whether you're renting the upstairs or buying stock, you expect to get something from it.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Okay, that's a beginning. Now, the next thing that Mike as management has to think of is bringing the workers and the tools together. You've been in plenty of bargaining sessions, Mike. All right, suppose you're an employee. But you also represent the guys in the new plant. Now, this time, just imagine yourself as a worker. And there you are again as management.
Mike, do you represent the employees in this new plant? That's right. Well, it looks like the boys will have good, steady work. We've got a sweet setup and ought to be able to knock the ears off competition. Setup's pretty good. But how about the boys? This plant's going to make a lot of baby buggies and a lot of dough. The boys feel the wage rate ought to be higher than Little Giants. You're forgetting costs, Mike. I wonder if you're not missing the point. We wouldn't be in business unless our costs are lower, unless we give customers a better buy. Suppose I pass all the savings on to you and to the stockholders. I'm not interested in what you do for the stockholders. Okay, suppose I pass them all on to the boys. Then our prices will be as high as Little Giants. Then we get some business, maybe. And the boys find themselves working 3 days a week. Don't they want steady work? Sure they want steady work. And every dollar they're entitled to. I'm here to see they get a fair shake on wages. And don't forget, we're the guys that buy the buggies, too.
Now are you beginning to see what a problem it is? As a workers' representative, you've got a lot of things on your mind. And as management, you have to remember that a lot of people have risked their money in this enterprise. And you have something else to remember, too. Your customers. You know, you can price yourself right out of the business, and then everybody loses.
There's something I'd like to get straight. If I was a stockholder, I'd want a return on my money or else.
Or else you'd get somebody else to run the business.
Hmm?
And if that didn't work, you'd pull out entirely if it wasn't too late.
Come on, boys. Let's break it up, huh?
I get what you're driving at.
Come on, honey, you bring the bread.
All right.
You see, Mary, I'm just trying to show you and Mike where the costs come from.
Wait a minute. You mean that when I buy a baby buggy, I have to pay some to the guys who own the tools, the factory, and the guys who work there?
More than that. Tools have to be replaced. They wear out. They have to be kept in shape. In other words, a statement from this factory might read something like this. We received from our customers. Well, unless we do, we're not in business. There'll be no jobs, no dividends. So that's all you have to work with. Then comes the costs of doing business. First is the cost of goods and services bought from others. Coal to heat the plant. Electricity. Advertising. A lot of things. Then the cost of tools wearing out. Now, most of the machines in this plant are new, but we've got to set aside enough to replace them when they wear out. Then taxes, local taxes, federal taxes, all the direct taxes. This doesn't include taxes that the government will make us withhold from wages, but all corporation taxes must be paid. And then comes the cost of human energy. Wages, insurance, retirement, Social Security, and so on. And last, the return to those who provide the tools, the stockholders. Very simple. You take in so much money from your customers and you divide it up. So much for what you buy outside, So much for the tools you use up and wear out, so much for taxes, so much for employees, wages and benefits, and so much for the use of the tools.
Well, I think I can understand that, but you still didn't explain.
What? Explain what?
How you're going to get the cost of the buggy down so I'll buy it.
Look, Mary, today the cost of government is an important factor in any business. What the government says you pay in taxes, you pay, right?
I'll say.
All right, take the next cost. You can try to be a good buyer, but you have to pay just about so much for a ton of coal and an electric light. And don't forget, these materials and services bought outside contain these same 5 costs, taxes, wages, and so on.
You can't expect those guys to work for nothing. They've got to pay taxes, too.
That's right. Okay, going on. You have to maintain tools. You have to replace them if they're out of whack or out of date. So what do you got to work with?
Well, you've got the wages and benefits for the workers, and what you pay the owners, the stockholders.
That's right. Now, in order for you to buy that buggy at a lower price, which of the 5 costs would you cut? The wages to the workers or the payments to the owners? Can you reduce the taxes? Can you pay less for what you buy outside? Do you have to maintain tools?
Well, I wouldn't cut wages.
Well, you've got 5 costs. Which one would you cut?
Maybe the store has the price marked up too high.
Could be, but they'd have to be competitive. They'd be forced to come down.
I should think so.
Let's say the markup is competitive. The factory's tooled up right, and everything is right. But still, the costs make the price too high. Now, that's a tough question. Remember the different points of view.
Well, boys, we have to figure a way to cut our costs. Now, where do we begin?
Take the stockholder.
If some of my savings are in this thing, I'm going to get paid or else. Why shouldn't I? I supplied the tools. Without me, there wouldn't be any factory. Speaking as a worker, I don't care where else you cut, but you're not going to cut wages. You're not going to monkey with benefits either. Get that straight right now. You put me on a tough spot. As management, I've got 5 costs. If I can't cut any of them, how am I going to cut the price of that buggy?
Let's not forget the customer. That's you, Mary.
Well, I still think the price you're asking for the little giant buggy is too high. I want a buggy for my baby, but I don't have to buy it from your company.
Not so long as you have a free choice.
And I have a free choice.
That's right. We're all each other's customers. Mary, what do you think would happen to any business in this country if people weren't willing and able to buy what they produce?
Well, I suppose they go broke.
Happens all the time, but what do you think the answer is?
Well, I don't know, but this much I'll tell you. I'm not going to pay that much for my buggy.
Okay, you're the boss.
All right, while they're talking, let's ask the audience. Here they are, the 5 costs of producing any goods or services. If it were up to you, how would you get the price down on that buggy to give Mary what she wants at a price she's willing to pay? Let's talk about these 5 costs, what they are, and what we can do about them. Let's face it right now.